Good morning, welcome to Greenwood Bonsai. We've just finished our annual bonsai bash, the Saturday, Sunday. It's now Monday morning, and what you're witnessing here is the aftermath. We just started putting all the chairs away. We've got to take all the marquees down later today. I want to thank everyone that turned up this weekend. It was our best attended event ever. There was hundreds of people here both days. The nursery was looking fantastic. The trees were really good. A lot of you went home with new trees to add to your collection. I did demonstrations both days. We've got an exhibition of trees in the studio. So I want to show you the exhibition trees for those of you that couldn't make it, or you live abroad and you didn't visit, just so you get a glimpse of the trees we've got here. Before I do that, I'll just briefly show you the demonstration trees that I worked on. A couple of different trees we did this year. On the Saturday, I worked on a blue spruce, and it was a tree, if you follow the videos, it's a tree you might remember. I bought it in Belgium at the trophy show in February. If you look back at the video of when we went there, you'll see me purchasing that tree and evaluating it, and we decided we might do it as a demonstration tree, or maybe a YouTube tree. We did it as a demonstration tree on the Saturday. It's over here. It's quite a unique tree. Got a lot of really nice movement in the trunk. It did have a fairly unique descending branch down in here, and when I did the demonstration, I was trying to advise people and go through my thought process of whether to keep it or not, and it was a bit divided. But as the tree progressed and we brought these branches down, it became a little bit surplus to requirements, so we ended the demonstration by removing that to give more elegance to the tree and less visual weight to the branches. If you have a look now, here's a photograph of it that Josh has found of when I actually bought the tree in Belgium, and then we had it shipped over to the UK, and this is its initial styling. So this was about an hour and a half, 2-hour demonstration on the Saturday afternoon, wiring it, all the bright new tips on it. So next thing with this tree is to get it into a bonsai pot. We're likely to do that in autumn time, or if not, we'll do it next spring. So I really enjoyed working on that tree. We did that on the Saturday. On the Sunday, something a little bit different. We got this collected privet, a ligustrum, and this was out here. Yeah, it was an absolute mass of foliage, trying to find the tree within it. So I did a few areas of carving, just roughed out some carving work on it, hollowed out the trunk, just started to wire a network of branches into place. So a little bit something different, doing an evergreen one day and a deciduous sort of collected tree on the second day. If you follow me into the studio, let's go and have a look at the trees in here. We had so many good comments about the exhibition trees this year, people saying how well they looked, and it was such a stunning display of bonsai. So for those of you that are into specimen trees and showing trees, I'm just going to talk you through these and tell you a little bit of information about them. This first one is a semi-cascade Japanese maple, Acer palmatum. It's been grown for about 40 years. We bought it from a collection from a fellow that was retiring from bonsai, and he actually planted it over this rock about 40 years ago, and he lives in Devon in the south of England, and this was a piece of rock he collected that's local to him, and he planted the tree over it, and it was in a very shallow pot. Quite a long rectangle, which I didn't think suited it much. This rock was more horizontal, so I've took it out of that. This has gone into a Brian Albright pot made by Walsall Ceramics. This is one of Brian's designs and glaze, made by Esther Griffiths from Walsall Studio. And this whole tree this spring has been tilted over to the right, so it's raised this rock up to make it look more dramatic, and it's also dropped this foliage down. It really suits this pot with the cloud feet on it. So that's a tree that is a relatively new one to Greenwood, and that we've just been working on, so you will see that in future. So all together in here we've probably got 20 trees or so, and these are trees that they're not for sale trees. So before you mention in the comments how much is that one on the left, how much is that one on the right, so these are my private collection of trees, and these are exhibited when we have events on, a couple of times a year. This is an Ezo Spruce I've had for about 8 years, originally imported from Japan. Very flaky old bark, beautiful bonsai pot. Really suits it in a sort of a matte glaze, just pushing soft new foliage out. It looks quite bright, good time of year to exhibit it. And it's on quite a rustic table to so that the cragginess of this table and the texture picks up the texture in the bark of the tree. This one you might have seen before. It's a Seiryu Maple in a Greenwood Ceramics bonsai pot. Quite a flamboyant tree, colourful, bright green in spring, bright orange and red in autumn. So it's in quite a showy pot and it does cope with it very well. Feminine pot with cloud feet and detail on it, and therefore also feminine, delicate foliage, really suits it well. I've had this tree about 25 years. It's always had a little branch here that looked a bit weird, and I've just took it off a couple of years ago. So though there is a scar there, look, can you see that, Josh? Can you pick that up? There's a scar there. It's starting to callus and roll in really quite well. So another few years, that will all have healed up. But the Nibari, been developing that over the years, but it's doing really well at the moment. Obviously, people that know me know that I like maples. I've got quite a few in here, but it's the time of year to show them off. So if you're not going to show them off now, when are you going to show them off? This is an Acer palmatum Mikawa Yatsabusa. Still got remnants of flowers on it. Look, these flower quite well. People don't think of maples as a flowering tree. Bright lime green in spring. Been developing the Nibari on this for a number of years, and it's in a beautiful green glazed Gordon Duffet bonsai pot. I think for my liking, maybe next year we need to put it into something slightly bigger, because this is quite broad for the size of the pot. I might step it up a little bit. This is a new addition this year, Japanese mountain hemlock, Suga diversifolia, beautiful old aged bark in a vintage Yamaki bonsai pot, imported this year and repotted. It's doing really well. You can see the new growth just pushing out on it. This is going to look amazing in a few weeks' time. I think another couple of weeks, once all this new growth is bright, it will look like it's in flower. I've not fully worked it yet. I've wired just the front of here. I don't want to do too much. It's recently been imported and it's been potted and I've trimmed it. I didn't want to fully wire it, but I've just wired the front here because they were lifting. So there's other bits you see here where this wants to be twisted and down into here. So there's other bits to do, wiring, but I've left it for now. So I've just put it on display as it is, and there's further enhancements to do on this tree. It's on a dug mud bonsai table. He passed away a few years ago. He was one of the top bonsai table makers in the UK. His tables are very, very sought after for good reason. So hopefully we'll get this so we can take it to a few shows in future. Trident Maple, I think we had this on display last year. Root over rock style on Ibagawa rock. We've got a few root over rock trees here at the nursery, and this rock is one of the best pieces of Ibagawa I've ever seen, just with these strata lines in the rock. Really beautiful. Nice underbark where it flakes off and you get the cinnamon colour underneath. Matches nice tonally with the pot. This is a vintage Walsall studio pot from back in the day, about 30 years ago, when they used to fire the pots in a gas-fired kiln before they went all electric. But in very good leaf this year, look, hardly a mark on the leaves. Really, really good. That's just how you want to display a tree. No damage, no marks, nothing, just really, really nice. So moving along, this was a new addition to us last year. It's a tree that I'd seen a number of years ago, and I had to sort of be patient and wait for the owner to decide that they were perhaps ready to sell it. And it's a Koto no Ito, Japanese maple. Very, very rare as bonsai. I've never seen one of this sort of size. If you look close, it's perhaps a little bit sneaky. I think the reason you don't see one this size is you just don't see them this sort of big. But if you look closely, these branches are grafted in. This one's grafted in. This one is. These are all grafted in. The top's grafted in here. So this section here, this will all be Acer palmatum, and it's had the cultivar, the Koto no Ito, grafted into it. Flowers, look at that amazing display of flowers. It looked phenomenal a few weeks back. Still looks good now. And now we wait through summer, and in autumn, this goes bright orange, like looks like a firework exploding. Beautiful tree. It's in a new Chinese handmade pot. I did put it in an old Gordon Duffet pot, but it got damaged this winter, so it's gone into this one. So the tone suits it quite nicely. This is a European larch, exhibited, I think last year we exhibited this as well, in a John Pitt pot. It's in a CHR bonsai stand with this textured finish, like wire brushed, with a bit more rustic finish to it. Because for me, the age of this tree, the twist in the trunk, the texture, the colour in the bark is picked up by this pot. It's an Ian Bailey pot, very rustic. We deliberately don't clean it, so it's got moss and patina on it. And then it suits the stand also. If this stand was all clean and fresh and polished, it wouldn't suit the tree. So the harmonisation of this, when you exhibit it, between the stand, the pot and the tree, really works well together. Here we've got a new addition, Japanese maple semi-cascade. You see it's putting growth out. That shoot wasn't there 2 days ago when we lifted it in, because if it was, I would have trimmed it off. But this is a Shuho pot, vintage Japanese bonsai pot. I saw the pot, fell in love with it. This copper glaze here where it's dripped, but it's just amazing. It's so beautiful, this pot. Absolutely wonderful. We potted this tree into it just last week, slip potted it into here, and this drip here in this colour just picks up the cascading branches as they work their way down. It's a relatively new addition here. We've got to work on the right hand side of the tree. This branch here I'm growing out. I need foliage here, ideally to about here, to just balance. At the moment it looks too heavy on the left. Just want to bring this out a bit more on this side. So you'll see that happening over the next few years as this tree is here at Greenwood and on display. Down at this far end, most of you that know me will know that I've got a particular thing for Seiryu maples, and we had so many comments about these trees at the weekend. People saying they've been to shows all over Europe and they've never seen 3 Seiryu like that on display anywhere together. Particularly not even outside Japan, they just haven't seen it. This one here, I bought at the trophy show about 10 years ago. I've been working on it ever since. When I bought it, it was in a tiny little pot, and a bit neglected. It had got long shoots on the top, and I've been working on that, working on the branches and the ramification for a number of years. Again, a vintage Walsall pot, gas-fired kiln. This glaze cannot be repeated anymore. Absolutely phenomenal. And this is a tree we took down to the Expo show in the UK at Crawley a few weeks ago, and a lot of people said it was a standout tree at that show for them. So that's on display. We'll skip this one here for a minute. Let's drop over here. This is one that I bought in Japan when I visited the World Bonsai Convention it was about 7 or 8 years ago now, and it was just in a training pot, and I bought it from one of the Japanese vendors there, and then it was imported into Holland and then into the UK. Very good Nibari. I can never decide between whether I prefer this one or the one I've just shown you. This one's got a better base, heavier trunk, but the structure of this one here is better structure on the tree. So I can't decide between the two, and then I went and bought a third one. I wanted something a little bit bigger, more impressive to go with these 2 trees. So I was very lucky to secure this tree that's recently come to us at Greenwood. Literally turned up, just coming into leaf this year from Japan. So I've been unable to repot it. The pot is absolutely huge. It wants a shallower pot, something this sort of depth would suit. I've got a few options available. I did buy a few pots for it, but when the tree turned up, it was too late to repot it this year, and also the tree was a bit bigger than I thought, so the pots I bought are too small. This was cut back, this branch, and it just sent these leaves out recently. And there's another one here, look. I've just left this on for now, this branch here, with this foliage, look. I've just left to fill in, but in actual fact, this will probably come off. I'm just waiting for these buds. Can you see in here with the camera? These buds are just popping, these leaves. So we've just done a first pruning because this branch was out here and it was too far out. So we're going to be working on that over the next few years to get it to a show worthy tree. Dark green leaf, people remarking how good the leaf looks on it. Very healthy tree, very vigorous. I'm going to enjoy working on that over the next few years and seeing it in autumn colour. Over here down this side of the studio, looking out towards the marquees where we did the demonstrations, European beech, Frega sylvatica, very strong trunk, good nabari in a vintage Gordon Duffet pot, beautiful smoky crackle glaze, like oatmeal sort of tones in that. Bits of lichen on the trunk, hollow trunk, just doing some work on it, pulling the branches around, giving it a little bit of a prune. It's only come into leaf in the last 2 weeks. Beech are very, very late to leaf out, as you know. Korean hornbeam here in a stone monkey bonsai pot. I've had this tree nearly 30 years. When we had a very cold winter in England a few years ago, it didn't leaf out in spring. It sat in the greenhouse being grumpy to itself, and I nearly threw it away in a skip the following year, but when I looked at it closely, it still got buds on it and it came into leaf. So that tree had a whole year off, but beautiful small leaf and intense ramification on that tree. Here's a Hanabin Satsuki. It's a lesser developed tree than a lot of the trees in here, but look how beautiful the flowers are. It was in the greenhouse round the back, and Josh said, we can't leave that in the greenhouse round the back when we've got an event on. Let's just get it out. So although it's a little bit unrefined at the moment, we just slipped it into a nice green pot to get the contrast with the flowers, just to give a little bit of a show at the weekend. Arakawa maple, rough bark, Japanese maple, heavy trunk look. In a Gordon Duffet pot, this was made specially for the tree with this crackle glaze. Just picks up this crackle here, look, just exactly the same as the crackle in the bark. Very, very good tree and pot combination. This next one is a dogwood, Cornus Mass, Cornelian cherry. With its imported from Europe about 15 years ago. We sold it to we bought it from a collector. We sold it to another customer. They part-exed it back to me. I decided not to sell it again, just to hang on to it. This is all its original wood, been carved. Bright yellow flowers, early spring, a dark pot to get the contrast with the flowers. Looked really nice a few weeks ago, just in here because it's just something different to display. Here we've got a Trident Maple, heavy trunk, sorry, not a Trident Maple. Here we've got a Deshojo Maple, heavy trunk, imported from Japan a number of years ago, originally from Andrea in Italy, a tree that he'd worked on and grown the branches on. And I've had it about 5 or 6 years now. In a Sperling Ceramics bonsai pot, nice contrast, blues and the greens on this pot, very, very good choice to pick up against the changing tones and the colours of the Deshojo Maple. Some of you, if you follow the videos recently, you'll recognise this one. This one we call the Slug, and I bought it this spring. Remember, we did a video of looking at this tree on the way to Belgium show, and I just thought it was quite unique. Just a funny little thing. I couldn't decide if it was nice or whether it was ugly, and we decided it was nice and ugly. So I bought it, and we had it out on the bench for sale just as a Japanese maple, which is what I bought it as, and it wasn't in leaf and you couldn't see the buds. And then Josh came in one day and said it'd come into leaf. They'll just put 2 leaves out, and it's like, it's a Suma Beni. So when the leaves come out here, look, fresh ones, they get quite bright, and then as they develop, they go to a green, but with the red tips. So Josh came in and said, oh, that maple we bought, it's a Suma Beni. So I decided to keep it because I've not got a Suma Beni in the collection at the moment. And we bought this Koyo bonsai pot to plant it into. Quite a showy tree, colourful tree in spring. So we've gone for a very showy pot to sort of to harmonise with it. But at the moment, the leaves are normally small on this. This has gone berserk this year. So when you look at this now, you do look at it and think, oh, the pot's far too small for it. But I think it might calm down a bit next year, so we'll see. If not, we're going to have to find a slightly larger pot. And here at the end, we've got an Ukon Maple, semi-cascade, A very rare cultivar for bonsai. Bright lime green foliage, elegant tree in a crescent pot that was commissioned for it from Walsall Studio Ceramics. So that's just nice on display. So like I say, we really appreciate those of you that turned up this weekend and supported us here at Greenwood. And for those of you that couldn't, you know, I know we've got lots of viewers in the States and that sort of thing and abroad. Just wanted to show you what you missed, show you some of the trees that we've got here, and we appreciate you following us and supporting us and watching the videos and all that sort of thing. So for now, we'll leave you with some shots of the trees, and I hope you've enjoyed this insight into the Bonsai Bash 2024, and thank you very much.